Very good afternoon to all of you. Myself Mr. Mabudur Rahman, Assistant Professor in Kekewa College of Food Technology, Nasik in the Department of Food Engineering. Now, today I will cover a multiple effect evaporator. So, first of all, see that what is our multiple effect evaporator. It is one of the type of evaporator. We can say that it is essentially a heat exchanger in which the liquid in which a liquid is boiled to give a vapor, so that it is also simultaneously a low pressure steam generator. It may be possible to make use of this to treat an evaporator as low pressure boiler and to make use of the steam thus produced for further heating in another following evaporation, so that it is called as another effect. So a multiple effect evaporator, it is defined as in chemical engineering, it is a operators for efficiently using the heat from steam to evaporate water, right? In a multiple effect evaporator, water is boiled in a sequence of vessels, each held at lower pressure than the last because the boiling temperature of the water decreases as pressure decreases. So the vapor boiled off in one vessel and it can be used to heat the next and only the first vessel at the highest pressure requires an external source of heat. While in theory, evaporators may be built with an arbitrarily large number of stages, evaporators with more than 4 stages are rarely practical except in systems where the liquor is the desired product, such as in chemical recovery system where up to 7 effects are used. Okay, so you are seeing here the diagram of multiple effect evaporator. So here in the diagram, according to this diagram, we are seeing that if our multiple effect evaporation work, at that time plant will be uses sensible heat in the condensate to preheat liquor to be flashed. So in practice, the design of liquid flow paths can be somewhat complicated in order to extract the most recoverable heat and to obtain the highest evaporation rate from the equipment. So in multiple effect evaporation, plants in sugar beet factories have to be 8 effect. 6 effect evaporator are common in the recovery of black liquor in the craft process for making wood pulp. So considering two evaporator, it is connected so that the vapor line from one is connected to the steam chest of the other, shown that you are seeing in this diagram, making up to 2 effect evaporator, so that it is called a double effect evaporator forward feed. So here if liquid is to be evaporated is in each effect, right? So boiling point of this liquid is unaffected by the some solute concentration, then we can write at Q1 that will be equal to U1 A1 in bracket Ts minus T1. It is also equal to U1 A1 delta T1. So we will assume that it is equation number 1, right? Where Q1, that is the rate of heat transfer, U1, that is the overall heat transfer coefficient in the evaporator 1, A1 is the heat transfer area in the evaporator 1, Ts is the temperature condensing steam from the boiler, and T1 is the boiling temperature of the liquid in the evaporator 1, and delta T, that is the temperature difference in the evaporator 1, Ts minus T2. Similarly, in the second evaporator, remembering that the steam in the second, that is the vapor from, and the first evaporator, and that this will condense at approximately the same temperature as it boiled. Since pressure changes are small, that is Q2, that will be equal to U2 A2 in bracket T1 minus T2, it will be equal to U2 A2 delta T2. So we will assume that it is equation number 2, right, in which this indicate the condition in the second evaporator, and if the evaporator are working in a balance, okay, then all the vapors from the first effect are condensing and in their turn evaporating vapor in the second effect, right? So also assuming that heat losses can be neglected and there is no appreciable boiling point elevation of the more concentrated solution, and the feed is supplied at its boiling point, that is Q1 is equal to Q2. So when we put the value of q1 and q2, we obtained u1 a1 delta t1, it is equal to u2 a2 into delta t2. If a1 and a2 is equal, then our u1 delta t1, this will be equal to u2 into delta t2, right? So when we take the ratio of u1 upon u2, u2 upon u1, then it will be equal to delta t1 upon delta t2, right? So in this way, the temperature differences are inversely proportional, we can say that, right? For this equation number 3, we can say that the temperature difference are inversely proportional to the overall heat transfer coefficient in the two effect. So this analysis may be extended to any number of effect operated in the series in the same way, right? So next one is feeding of multiple effect evaporator, right? So in a multiple effect evaporator, the feeding, if we see that the feeding of multiple effect evaporator, right? So the multiple effect evaporator, if we see the feeding, the temperature in the steam chest, that is the higher in the first than in the second effect. So in order to that, the steam provided by the evaporation in the first effect will boil off liquid in the second effect. So the boiling temperature in the second effect must be lower, and so that effect must be under lower pressure, right? Often may of later effects are under vacuum. If we see that in a forward feed, we are seeing that here we can say that the condition or the liquid feed progress is simple. It passes from effect 1 effect to other to effect 2 3 and so on. As in these circumstances, the feed will flow without pumping, so this is called as the forward feed, right? In backward feed, it means that the most concentrated liquid will occur in the last effect. Alternatively, feed may pass in the reverse direction and starting in the last effect and the proceeding according to the first, but in the case the liquid has to be pumped from the one effect to the next, again the pressure drop, that is the backward feed. Now see here the advantages of multiple effect evaporator. We are seeing here that ability to maximize uses of input energy, it means steam economy, it is the first advantages. Then next one is reduce energy required to run full system, then reduce condensing load with additional effect, that is less cooling water needed. And next one is liquor flow control. The next one is convenient foul condensate collection and processing. The next one is ability to do online cleaning of individual effects. The next one is vapor recompression. So in addition to the possibility of taking the steam from one effect and using it in the steam chest, right? That is of another. So a further possibility for economy of steam is to take the vapor and after compressing it, return it to the steam chest of the evaporator from which it was evaporated. The compression can be effected either by using fresh steam, okay, or suitable high pressure in jet or ejector pump, right? And vapor recompression, that is similar in many ways to the use of multiple effect. So the available temperature in the fresh steam is reduced before use of evaporation, and so additional heat exchange surface which are equal, or we can say that roughly one stage equal one extra effects. Next one is falling in evaporator. So see here what is falling in fill evaporator. So first of all, see that what is falling in evaporator. It is the dynamic phenomena which changes with the time. Falling increases the overall thermal resistance and lower the overall heat transfer coefficient of heat exchangers. Falling also impedes fluid flow, accelerates corrosion and increases pressure drop across the heat exchanger, right? So see here the 6 mechanisms which have been identified that give to rise the falling problem in heat exchangers. They are included. First one is our crystallization falling. So next one is particulate falling, then biological falling. After biological falling, we are seeing that chemical reaction, then corrosion falling, okay, as well as the freezing falling. So see here, one by one. First we will see that what is our crystallization falling. So in crystallization falling, it often referred to in water streams as scaling, which involve the formation of crystals from solutions on the surface or deposition of crystals formed in the bulk liquid or in the laminar sublayer. Okay. The next one is particulate falling. In particulate falling, it depends on the arrival of discrete particle at the transfer surface, and particle may be so small. Okay. The next one is the biological falling. Biological falling, it may be defined as the growth of living matter on heat exchanger surface. So the phenomena usually associated with water system. For example, cooling water involves both microorganism and microorganism, and the former may include bacteria, fungi or algae, while the latter include mussels and branchlets. Okay. The next one is chemical reactions. The surface may give rise to what is often called chemical reaction falling. So the effect of heat on a process fluid as it passes through the exchanger, it may accelerate chemical reaction. For example, cracking or polymerization reaction that can give rise to deposition on the surface. Right. The next one is the corrosion falling. So in corrosion falling, a protective layer, but more likely the corrosion process produce a thick corrosion layer at the time of the construction of heat exchanger. So some heat exchanger material of construction are subject to corrosion from the aggressive nature of the fluids or impurities in the fluids in contact with the surface. Right. Next one, last one is the freezing falling. So in freezing falling, in cooling operation, it is possible to freeze a liquid being processed at the cold surface. So the frozen layer that represents a resistance to heat transfer, although the different mechanisms have been identified as a leading to falling. So it is possible to consider falling is an idealized general way, right? So okay, thank you for watching. Once again, thank you.